So when you think about tabletop role-playing games, what comes to mind? You're probably picturing epic heroes, right? Chosen ones destined to save the world. But it wasn't always that way. There was a time when the whole point wasn't to be a hero. It was just to make it through the night.
And I'm not kidding. Seriously. Before we had all the cinematic combat and these huge sweeping stories, the very first TTRPGs were, well, they were something else entirely. They weren't power fantasies, they were survival challenges, just with a fantasy paint job. And this right here is the absolute heart of it. We are talking about a kind of survival that feels almost alien to a lot of modern players, the kind where opening the wrong door could just wipe out the entire party. No saving throws, no second chances. Your goal wasn't fame or glory, it was just to get out of that dungeon with your skin intact. So let's just dive right into that first world. We're going to go back in time to what people now call the Old School Renaissance, or OSR. It's a style of play that tries to capture those early, absolutely brutal, and honestly kind of terrifying days of the hobby. I absolutely love this description because it is just perfect. See, dungeons back then weren't designed to be a fair fight or some kind of balanced encounter. No, they were illogical, they were dangerous, and they were fundamentally unfair places. So think less heroic quest and more, high-stakes burglary and a death trap. To play this way, you have to completely shift your mindset. You weren't a brave adventurer clearing out evil. You were, at your absolute best, what you might call a semi-competent burglar. The dungeon itself was the main character, and believe me, it was actively trying to kill you. And this kind of hostile world creates a very specific kind of player. You didn't just charge into rooms, you poked the floor with a 10-foot pole first. You never, ever trusted a friendly NPC. You learn this deep, abiding paranoia because the game was constantly teaching you that being brave gets you killed, but being careful, that just might get you rich. And this comparison just sums up the difference in mindset perfectly. If an OSR dungeon master describes this beautiful, ornate statue in the middle of a room, the player's brains immediately start screaming, "Trap!" They're trying to figure out if it shoots poison darts or if the floor is going to drop out. A modern player? They're probably looking for a button to push to trigger the next cutscene. And here's maybe the most important takeaway. Combat wasn't the point of the game. At all. In fact, combat was a failure state. It was what happened when your brilliant plan to sneak past the guards went completely sideways. Running away wasn't being a coward. A lot of the time, it was the only smart move you had. Okay, let's hit the fast forward button. We're going to jump from that dark, scary dungeon right into the bright, shiny world of modern TTRPGs. And as you can probably guess, the philosophy is, a little different. These descriptions are just hilarious, right? And they totally capture the vibe. Modern games put combat right up front and center. It's the main event. It's the #1 way that players interact with the world and push the story forward. It's way less about survival and a whole lot more about spectacle. And here it is, the huge design shift. Unlike that old-school dungeon that literally could not care less if you lived or died, modern games are built around the players. You are the heroes of the story. The mechanics, the encounter balancing, it's all designed to challenge you, sure, but it's a challenge you are ultimately expected to win. This creates this really satisfying loop, doesn't it? You face a challenge, you use your awesome abilities to beat it, and you get rewarded with more power and even cooler abilities. It's a hero's journey, where you're always progressing, and victory is pretty much the default setting. Oh man, this is so true it hurts. In so many modern games, trying to skip a fight feels like you're trying to skip the game itself. Your whole character sheet, all those cool feats and spells, they're built for combat. So trying to avoid it feels like you're not even playing your character right. So what we have here are two totally different styles of play. Over here, we have terrified burglars. Over here, we have cinematic superheroes. But why? What's the one core thing, the one mechanic that creates these two opposite philosophies? I mean, really, how do you get one group of players that'll spend an hour planning how to get around one measly skeleton and another group that'll try to suplex a dragon? Well, the answer is way simpler and, frankly, more brilliant than you might think. This is everything. In old school D&D, you did not get experience points for killing monsters. You got one experience point for every single gold piece you managed to drag out of that dungeon. The game wasn't telling you to fight, it was telling you to get the loot and get out alive. And that gold for XP rule is what creates this exact gameplay loop. Killing the dragon gets you nothing, but stealing its treasure hoard from right under its nose while it's sleeping, that's how you level up. It rewards creativity, it rewards stealth, and it definitely rewards running away. Combat is the absolute last thing you do when every other clever plan has failed.
Now, let's just contrast that with the modern way. Here, the #1 source of experience points is beating monsters. The game is mechanically telling you, go fight things. The bigger the bad guy, the bigger the reward. It directly encourages players to look for combat as the main way to get more powerful.
So we've seen these two big philosophies, and it all comes from one simple rule change. One dungeon is a terrifying death trap, the other is a heroic proving ground. So, what's the big takeaway here?
This table really just breaks it all down, doesn't it? The OSR goal is a heist. The modern goal is a boss fight. The OSR experience is tense and gritty. The modern one is empowering and cinematic. And it all comes back to that one core mechanic. What is the game actually rewarding you for?
And look, this is so important to say. Neither of these styles is better than the other. They just give you completely different experiences. It's like asking if you want to watch a tense survival horror movie or a big blockbuster action flick. Both are fantastic ways to spend an evening.
But as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this final thought. While both styles are totally valid, only one of them teaches you this deep, primal, and incredibly useful paranoia. So the next time you're in a dungeon, you gotta ask yourself, are you here to be a hero, or are you just here to get paid and get out alive? The answer might change how you look at that next door.